Welcome to Motivational Monday. This is Fed Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading, and I want to take one element and just really dissect it and really just focus on it. And that's the word, focus. But before we start, make sure to like, subscribe, and do share, especially if you find value in this presentation. Okay, so this is going back to when I was back in college, and this is really not pre-internet days because there was the internet, but it was a very, very light and not really developed at that stage. And most of the business content that you got was either through the Wall Street Journal, the actual paper, or you got it through magazines. And the magazine that I subscribed to back then is a magazine called Fortune. And that's really based on the Fortune 500, if you ever heard that term. It's 500 largest companies in the world, the Global 500, etc. And it really was a great read-in into getting involved into the business world, okay? And I learned a lot just by reading just some articles about it in different sectors. I remember reading stuff about Intel and reading about stuff like on AMD and reading about different companies that I really otherwise would not have been exposed to, like Monsanto or some of the other companies that, having limited space and understanding of it gave me that perspective of it, all right? But this is the point. In studying about Fortune 500 companies, you would see, okay, a list of all the 500 either largest companies, or sometimes they would do like the most wealthiest people. And you would look at the first 5 or 6 of them, and it'd show what businesses they were in. And I would say, out of that billionaire list, in those days, or the millionaire list in those days, okay, they didn't hit billions at that time, most of them were in 1 or 2 industries, okay? And most of them were in one industry. And that's my point. Most billionaires are really good at one thing. Bill Gates, he does technology, he does software. Okay, that's what he does. Yes, later on in life they got into hardware and other aspects of it, but that's not what they do. For example, right now, NVIDIA is a company that has, exploded, but it's been around for a long time, and it's really just focused on one area. And it's now focused on one area, and that is what is expanding the market. It's chip making, but it's specific type of chip that are going to add to AI. And that's my point. Most billionaires out there are doing one specific thing, and they do it really, really well. And most of us in our lives, we kind of disperse ourselves. We're in 2 or 3 industries. The average worker goes into 2 or 3 different types of businesses throughout their career. And I'm not saying that you can't add on to that career or use some transferable skills that you've acquired in one business and then go on to do something else and then something else and then something else. But there's got to be a core. There's got to be some sort of line of connecting the dots in the different industries that you go into. Now, recently, my daughter went through a surgery, and it's called a radiosurgery. It's something called Gamma Knife, just to highlight the point. And it's basically laser surgery. And basically what they do is that they take her into this massive machine. They put her under, obviously, general anesthesia, and they apply these beams of lasers, and they're supposed to meet at one point. Now, these hundreds of lasers, okay, beams that are beaming into a particular part are in of themselves nothing, okay? They do nothing to anything. But when they all meet and converge together at that one point, they become lethal and they become very, very directive. And the precision of how much they're able to precisely is milliliters. I mean, it's millicentimeters. It's so precise that it's unbelievable on how, on the micro level, they're able to, target a certain, artery or a certain vein, even like as small as capillary, of vessels that they're able to actually really focus on. But that's my point. And the point is that sometimes when we disperse our focus, it's very difficult for us to really excel at any given thing. I'm not saying that you can't use some of those skills to transfer it elsewhere, but you need to focus on something. For example, Bo Jackson, one of the amazing athletes, okay, who did both type of sports. He played football in the winter and he played baseball in the summer. He had certain elements, okay, that he had about him that he was able to use transferable skills from one to the next. But that was a very unique person, okay? And that's my point, is that you need to focus about the business that you have at hand in order to make it the best thing possible. And then you can extend into other things. I'm not saying not to extend into other things. There are some times when you look at this billionaire list, there are things and businesses that they jump into, but they are a transitional thing, or they're a thing that jump into it, okay, and a natural progression into that next business thing of the initial core business. For example, McDonald's initially was a food company, but leasing into properties, okay, and going into the real estate market because they owned the real estate by which a franchisee had to operate on that location was an extension of their business. But initially, they were a fast food business. So my message to you this Monday is focus on the things that you want to do in life, okay? If that's one or two things at life that you want to become really good at, you can become really good at. And I'm going to quote Malcolm Gladwell, who's a phenomenal writer and a researcher who did research about some of the things that people are really good at. And they found through research, psychologists, etc., that to be really good at something, you have to really focus on something for 10,000 hours. Okay, so if you or I were to focus 10,000 hours on any given skill, would really be good at it for a long period of time, right? So any surgeons that you know that do long hours, and it takes them 10,000 hours to really be good at any given activity. So with that said, take that focus, whatever it is, and just be as best that you could be at that given activity. Thank you for joining me for this Motivational Mondays. We'll see you here next week.